The ordinary meaning rule. This typically requires courts to give the statutory language its usual and ordinary meaning. Essentially, this canon of statutory construction means that we presume the legislature uses words in their ordinary sense. And so we ask, what would these words convey to an ordinary reader of that statute? Of course, this could also lead to a discussion of what is an ordinary meaning. For example, is it a colloquial meaning, a conversational meaning, the dictionary meaning, a specific or technical meaning? Um, there's the extensive meaning of all examples, or prototypical, the best example. As you might imagine, there are several challenges with the use of the colloquial meaning. The first problem is, from whose perspective do we view this meaning? A majority of judges on the courts perhaps are older individuals, for example, but perhaps legislative staffers or committee staff are more diverse and younger. So context matters. Judges are using dictionary definitions more frequently to determine the ordinary meaning of a statute or the words of a statute. A commonly used dictionary such as Webster's is often a good starting place for a broad definition. Naturally, there can be challenges with using dictionaries to find the plain meaning of a word. Because there are multiple sources of dictionaries, all with maybe slightly different word meanings, which one are we going to rely on? And of course, this statutory construction canon assumes that bill drafters are using dictionaries when they draft statutes. Is this necessarily accurate? Are the same dictionaries even being used? And of course, dictionaries change over time. So should a judge rely on a dictionary in print when the law was written, or a more modern or one that was just recently published closer to today? In addition, dictionaries often don't reflect different cultural meanings. They don't always provide the context to interpreting a statute, or necessarily provide clear guidance on what to do if the statute contains words that have a technical or specialized meaning that may not be reflected in a dictionary definition. There are obviously limits to a statute's plain meaning. The presumption of ordinary meaning may be rebutted when a statute is directed to a specific technical audience, such as a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. Additionally, the courts will not follow the plain meaning if that meaning leads to an absurd result. So if a court looks at the plain meaning and determines that it would lead to an illogical, or often called absurd, result, then the absurdity doctrine requires the court to pick a meaning as close as possible to the literal meaning. As former Justice Antonin Scalia once opined, you have to pick the new meaning that does the least violence to the statutory text.